how do you develop and maintain a sense of self-love when you have gone through so much that has contributed to your sense of not being good enough, not having worth? And so I have with me the lovely Deborah Joy, and she has written a wonderful book that is her own experience. And today we are going to talk about why we self-abandon. Whenever you are a child and you expressed how you felt, what would happen?
When I was a child, most of the times my parents used to fight. And my dad was actually a senior pastor, but they used to fight a lot with my mother. Every evening, my work was to run outside and to scream so that people can come and settle what was happening. They would fight badly with weapons like pangas and djembes and such stuff. So I would run outside and scream, and then neighbors would come. I would say, I saw dad take a thermos full of hot milk and throw it at mom, and mom did this and this and this. And after the people left, my dad actually nicknamed me Kasuku. Kasuku is a parrot. So he nicknamed me that because I used to explain what would happen, and they would beat me. They would really beat me because of speaking the truth and speaking up what they were doing and what was going on at that point. I developed a sense of knowing if I express something, whether it is right or wrong, if I say it, it is wrong to do that. So now I develop what we call numbness. I just used to survive. Although I would again scream. I would scream. I would scream for people to come because they would hurt each other. You would see they are going to kill each other. So I still had to scream for people to come. But I had to be punished after that.
I would like for you to tell us your experience now in high school. By then, you are a teenager. So you are aware that your family is all broken up.
I had depression, although I didn't know that I had depression. I found myself sometimes just lying on the grass during break time and then going to class 2 lessons later. And then I was just surviving through. I wasn't feeling anything. I wonder how I got a B+ to join university. I don't know. Like I mentioned, the human spirit is resilient and it fights. There's just that warrior in you that wants to fight and fight and fight always. I just survived through, I can say.
And there is something that we normally do when you are a child and you experience intense abuse, where you are constantly feeling you are going to lose your life, whether it is the life of your parent or whether it is your own life. What happens is your system, your whole body system, learns how to dissociate. It's like you walk out of your life and you are watching from outside. It's happening to you, but you are not feeling it. You become numb to those feelings. And so by the time you are a teenager, you have learned the art of not feeling. You stay on survival mode. And even when you don't need to be in survival mode, you continually stay there because that's your norm. Because you don't feel safe to allow yourself to feel it.
And actually, one thing that I need to mention is that in high school, I never had relationships. Like the way people would write letters and send to boys' schools and then they go out for... I never went for any outing or attended any evening. I didn't want because I didn't have feelings, I would say. I didn't have feelings for anybody. I didn't have feelings for anything. I was just surviving through and maneuvering through my lessons.
When your feelings as a child are not valued and they are not validated, then you go into what's the use of expressing them and what's the use of feeling them anyway. So we go into now what you are calling depression. And depression is a feeling of numbness, but there are other issues of depression. Your focus is not as good, concentration is not good, and then
you talked about concentration. I used to do this because our teachers would dictate notes in high school. I count 2 pages and put a dot and tell myself by the time we reach at this dot, the teacher should be out of class. So I'm just concentrating on that dot, not on the teacher.
So you're not
I'm not even paying attention to what he is teaching or she is teaching. I'm just watching the dot. I'm telling myself, when will we get to this dot? And I keep looking at it. When the teacher dictates notes, I don't get what they're saying, so I need to copy from my friend, but I'm marking the dot.
How did you actually get information for you to do the exams?
A week to exam, I felt very sick. I don't know how sick I was, but I was sick. I cannot explain the sickness that I had. And everybody said I have feared the exams.
Oh.
But in the midst of all these things, I used to perform well. I used to be among the top 10. I had a torch, so I read through.
Oh.
I used a torch,
Yes.
and when people would sleep, I would just use a torch and read my notes through the night in my bed, because I couldn't sleep. I was depressed. I used to have insomnia. So I read, and that is how I passed my KCSE.
Oh, okay. What about comprehension?
I couldn't comprehend. I was just reading for the sake of reading. When I get a question, I just relate the knowledge that I read somewhere with that question, not really answering meaningfully,
Yes.
but just throwing there an answer because I saw something related to this
Yes.
at a certain page of my book.
I see.
Yeah, and somehow things just worked out. I passed. Yeah.
What about now in college?
The classes that I attended are less than 40%. One of my lecturers, called Dr. Kamau, used to call me principal. You know the way principals come to school, they appear and disappear.
Yeah.
So he used to call me principal. And there's a time he even told me he's going to deny me exams because I'm never at school. I'm always out there looking for money and of course working for people, and they give you an off of a day or two. You go do exams and you come back. So for school, I used to have a small smartphone, and then my friends, I remember my two friends, one was called Deborah and another one was called Neema. They used to send me pictures of notes, and it was very tiny. It was a small phone. So at night I would go through the notes, and then in the morning I come and do the cuts.
And the reason why you wouldn't attend classes was?
Because I was working for people to raise money for my upkeep.
Oh.
Yeah, so you see, when you're working as a house help for someone, they will give you an off of 2 or 3 days.
Yes.
So those 2 or 3 days are days for exams. You can't go for lectures.
Yeah.
In campus also now the depression grew. You know, now I'm self-aware. I know it was depression. At that time, I just didn't know what was happening. I would go to do the exams in school, and I find myself in the market at the middle of the night without shoes, and I don't know how I got there. I cannot tell.
Right.
Like I was just surviving through life.
Yeah.
Then I have to go back. There is a time I cooked for that family. I used liquid soap to cook. I thought that was salad. And they told me I am a witch. They harassed me and they sent me away.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just that my mind was not there. My feelings were not there, and I wasn't feeling.
You were just a shell.
Yes,
that,
I was just there.
Yeah. Now there is something you shared with me, that while you are going through all of this in campus, you are taking care of your younger brother.
I have 3 younger siblings. So one of them was in high school at that time. He was an adolescent and he didn't understand that I was working for people to make money. So he used to be hard-headed. And I struggled some. I thank God for one of his teachers called Mr. Wekesa. He used to like align him. Because I would work so hard and work for people, work on the farms, and then when I send money, he just jokes around. But I ensure that he went through high school until he completed. He is now awaiting to graduate in December.
Yeah, and I have met him. He is a really very intelligent young man.
Yes, he changed.
Kabisa. And right now he's a French teacher.
Yes, he's a French teacher.
Yeah,
And
after your parents have really neglected your needs and neglected you, you say that nobody visited you in high school.
Visited me in high school. I used to be visited by my grandmother once in a while. I think she visited me twice, and she would bring me unripe mangoes, and these mangoes are not yet ready to be plucked, but she would pluck them. Then she would bring me sugarcane and milk from the cow, like not packed milk. So that's what she used to bring me in school. And then we would sit under a tree, and then I eat the mangoes and avocados, ripe avocados. So in 2 days I have finished my shopping. That used to be my, and people would look at me and say, I see sugarcane, can we come for sugarcane? So people used to know what I would be visited with, and I think I was visited twice.
Now, where did this need and drive come from, where you felt you needed to help your brother?
I looked at them and I thought about myself. how I was neglected and how I needed attention and and I gave my brothers attention when really they need it. I thought about how life is hard when nobody is holding your hands. And that is why I looked back and said, I need to support my brothers. I don't want them to go through this. And somehow when you have been abandoned, you become overprotective.
Yes.
So I am very overprotective of my brothers. At some point, I remember you had to tell me to let Mordecai go, my brother, to let him fly because he's an adult.
Yeah.
You know, you become very overprotective and you want them to have what you didn't have.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And even when you are lacking, you want them to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I just found myself paying for them fees.
Viewer, this is a very inspirational story that I want you to catch the nuggets that you see here. There is I can relate and identify with the what Deborah is talking about, that even though she went through so much abandonment and neglect, that she had a heart to help her brothers, to give them a better life. That is what we call the firstborn syndrome, or when we become, as children, we become parentified. That is not because of abuse per se. That is because of who you are, how God has endowed in you. When we are talking about from self-abandonment to self-love, what we are saying, we need to break the cycle, because we do not need to be overly giving to other people anymore. Like Deborah has said, there reaches a point when now you need to let people go and focus more on now you, because one of the things that happens is that over time we begin to develop mental health issues that can really devastate us, when now the people we've been taking care of, they don't need us anymore. But then also we need to focus on growing, on thriving, because at the point when Deborah is taking care of her brothers, when she's taking care of her education, she's on survival mode. And so now we are going to be talking more about how do you move, how do you resolve these abandonment issues that have become self-abandonment. You need to get a copy of this book so that you can be able to identify some of what she has experienced that is also part of your life experience, and how you can begin the process of moving through that. So we do have information on how you can order for this book.